welcome or welcome back to At Home with Cici. I am at home. I am Cici, mama to 3 amazing humans, and among other things, a homeschooling parent. This channel is everything to do with home education, particularly in the UK, specifically London. So if you haven't already, please like the video, subscribe, and tap the bell to stay in the loop with all good things. Okay, so this video is part of a series of our do's and don'ts in our home education life. This video is going to be why we reject the national curriculum. I will use in this video, and I use in all videos and in life, home education, home school and home learning interchangeably. Because in the grand scheme of general life, it really doesn't matter how I refer to our home education, but they do have distinct definition differences. So home education versus homeschool essentially is education at home versus mimicking school at home. The point of home education is to support your child where they're at, as an individual and as a whole person with varied skills, capabilities and interests. Homeschool, or schooling in general, does not support the child, it supports the system. It does not consider individuals, it sees just numbers and whole groups rather than specific people. And of course there are reasons for that, but that's why it isn't for us. So with home learning and home education, the education is tailored to the child. It likely follows their lead, and not in the sense that the child dictates what goes on, but it, for instance, in our home education life, I have observed my learner and then planned around that and supported them in the stages they're at. Home education has fewer restrictions in terms of educational pathways and styles and approaches and learning and curricula. It's flexible, it can provide a great deal of freedom, it can be undefined. You can maybe have an approach or a style, Charlotte Mason, Montessori, Waldorf, but you can change it or you can interweave it with others. You don't have to set your way and then stay with that. You're free to change and adapt and evolve. And it reflects and incorporates family values, which a school environment doesn't necessarily do, depending on your values. So why follow the national curriculum that has this one pathway of learning, one type of expectation for the child, one route to take, when there's so much opportunity outside? It's like there's this narrow path of national curriculum, but then over here are fields and mountains and forests and bodies of water and fun fairs and explorations and adventures, but the national curriculum's just here and you don't get to go off and do any of those things. So we're here in the non-national curriculum area. But that's also not to say I don't encourage and support my child's reading and math skills and things like that, because those are important life skills. They would be important with or without the mainstream school system. Reading, writing, understanding numbers that exist around us all the time, and maths concepts is an important skill for life and for living in a society where we are humans and we have language and we use numbers. That is aside from school. So I very much encourage language, arts and maths in our home education and in our home life, because they are important skills, as well as being important ways to express as well. Because we reject the national curriculum, we reject learning to read and write. I just reject the way it's taught and the expectations that come with that. Also, this national curriculum that we follow that does not consider the individual child, that relies heavily on testing and a specific way of learning and teaching, Why would we choose that also when it is largely unchanged since its birth, since its creation? The national curriculum has barely changed. I want my children to learn more than some men decided quite a while ago. I want us to keep learning. There are new things to learn every day. We don't have to just keep learning the same stuff with no context, no excitement, no fulfillment, no...
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
...meaning around it. And I think that's the main difference. Home education can have incredible meaning to the child because it's education that is to do with them. It's their life. The reasons they're learning, the things they're learning are because of them, not because someone is putting it onto them. In a mainstream school situation, the learning is thrown at you, is thrust upon you. It's not made in collaboration with you, and therefore there is no meaning. And that's why, as we become adults, or even while we're in school, we don't understand why we're learning what we're learning. We don't remember what we've learned. That I can imagine everybody you speak to about, oh, what do you remember from your GCSE years, or what do you remember from primary school? What did you learn? There won't be things that you learned that you held on to. There may be one or two specific things, but rich knowledge doesn't come from mainstream schooling. It comes from learning in a loving environment, supported by people who love you and care about you and know you. And I think that's the difference, the meaning. It may sound whimsical and far-fetched and sweet and idyllic to be talking about education for an individual child, because of course in a lot of circumstances it's also not possible. Our society makes it very not possible to home educate on a grander scale or a more popular scale, because we are products of the school system, and therefore we are in this machine of working and keeping up the capitalist society. So we have to work, we have to make money to afford our basic needs. We don't all have the luxury of being able to not work in the ways that we're working and feel like we can't support our children, or we are made to feel like we don't have the capabilities to teach our children ourselves. That's a different point. So yes, it may seem whimsical to say a child should learn in a loving environment, tailored to them, supporting them where they are at. It may sound idyllic, but it is necessary, because the child is the one who learns the things that the adult continues to use throughout their life. We wouldn't be who we are without our child self, so we need to respect that child, show respect to that child, and show that child how to respect themselves, because we are only who we are today because of the children we were. I ran out of storage. So we need to respect the child, and that means not dumbing things down, providing beautiful, complex, interesting literature and art and music and topics, because children are way more capable than we ever give them credit for, and we don't need to simplify or cartoon, if that makes sense, to use it as a verb, to cartoon things. We don't need to make animals look fake. The beauty of the world is enough for children. They don't need things reimagined or simplified. Present the world as it is to them. And what I mean is...
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Respect the child's ability, capability and potential, because if you don't, you're going to restrict them and deny them the opportunity to demonstrate and show and explore how great they are. And that applies to the curriculum and the lessons and the education a child receives. Very similar to when you go to a restaurant and then you have the adults menu, which is ridiculous. If there's a child's menu, then it implies the other one is the adult's menu, and that one has linguine on it, for example, just pasta. But on the kids one, it's bangers and mash, or chicken nuggets and chips, or horrible things like that. I mean, vegan bangers and mash, especially when my oldest makes them. But anyway, you understand my point. There's silly food, processed food, unrefined food, unadventurous food, simple flavors, boring flavors, the same flavors in every restaurant you go to. But children have mouths and taste buds and stomachs and digestive systems just like adults. Obviously they're smaller, and when they're super young, as in infantile, they can't have the same food, but they're not going to have chicken nuggets, and they're not going to have chips and beans, baked beans, that you get in UK restaurants on the kids menu. So I'm not talking about babies who can't eat what adults eat because they can only drink milk. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about just kids, children, everyone who is under the age of 12 who is offered rubbish because they're children and they can't handle the adult flavours. And that's the same for curriculum, for learning, for education. Children are given the dumbed down version of everything when they could be exploring the true beauty of the world, the flavours of the world, the excitement, the adventure of learning and of things to learn. And obviously, I'm not saying that we should teach children all the difficult topics and hard-hitting subjects, and you know, there's no age limit for anything, and anything's appropriate. I don't mean that. Obviously, you have to make things appropriate and suitable for their developmental age and stage, but you don't need to shy away from or exclude information, vocabulary, art, books, stories, so many things, concepts. You don't need to shy away from them, avoid them, or not even let your child be aware of them until they're of a certain age. You can introduce children to books of all types from the beginning, and the more beautiful the better, the more rich the language the better, because if you don't introduce it now, when are you going to introduce it? Their ears work now, their brains are absorbing now, so let them learn. The national curriculum doesn't allow that. So we reject mainstream school, we therefore reject the national curriculum. We embrace freedom, excitement, adventure, complexity, interest, passion, and the natural, beautiful world that we live in, and the art and other creations we can make from it. That being said, if following the national curriculum is what works for you and your family, then of course do that if it makes sense to you. If the things that they're teaching or they suggest to teach, because the national curriculum isn't like a set thing in that you must do this and this, it's the path that you take and the things that you learn, but not the exact things, if that makes sense. So if you appreciate the national curriculum and you don't have any qualms with it, then of course do that. And if it helps you stay focused in your home education journey, then that makes sense for you. The reason we reject the national curriculum is because it doesn't sit with us or our values. Alright, I hope it all made sense. I've had to stop and start recording a few times, so I'm going to try and make sure that it's coherent for you. If not, you know, just keep playing it because it helps my algorithm and things, please. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tap the bell, comment please, say hi, and